Okay, welcome back to another episode of the SLT podcast. We have myself, Ziggy Moore, from More Education, all that good stuff. We have
Miss Ree.
Miss Rena Johnson, Senko extraordinaire, deputy head, and we also have Doctor Stuart Lawrence, who has joined us for our questions. So, as you know, through a myriad of different we get people DM us, we get people WhatsApp. Don't forget the WhatsApp group's powerful. The WhatsApp group is powerful, you know. You can go on the More Education page, sign on to that. We've got a lot of parents in the WhatsApp group. Send us a load of different scenarios and how we can support and how we can help. But we brought some to the panel to discuss today. So Miss Ree, if you could read some off and we will respond.
Okay, so the first one is, I think my child is involved with some unsavoury characters. He started coming home late from school. He's getting lippy and has shaven 2 lines in his eyebrows.
Hey.
Am I overthinking things, or could this be the start of something I should be worried about? So a genuine concern.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a difficult one because I always say to people, it's we have to give our young people space to grow, but not so much space that they think that they know everything and they grow into what we don't want them to become. So it's about conversation. What do the lines in your eyebrow mean? Why do you need them? Once you start questioning our young people and trying to get, you're never going to get the right answer straight away. Oh, just because I do, like, it's the in thing. Like, no, really, 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 why? Because some people have got, some people haven't got. You've decided. So why? Why are you? And as I said, listening to hear and responding. I'm at that point now with my 14-year-old. He came home the other day and wanted a £120 pair of trainers. Now, I never had a £100 pair of trainers at the teenage age of when everyone else was doing the £100 trainer thing. My parents were always like, well, the trainers are trainers. Like, that pair looks as good as that pair. That £60 was as good as a £120 pair. See, you get the £60 pair, just the way it was. And then as I've got older, the admiration of being able to buy the things that I want for myself was a great sense of satisfaction just to do those things. So he said he wanted these trainers. It was his birthday. I tried to convince him that you could get 2 pair of trainers for £60. And no, Dad, I want these ones. And I was like, why? Why do you want those ones? Because that's what everyone's wearing. So he's now moved into the stage where he's like, well, other people's opinions of what he looks like, what he wears, is more important than his own opinion about what he looks like and what he wears. And that's a stage of life that he's in. And I need to sort of understand that because I myself was at that stage at one point in my life as well. And I'm outside the other side of that now, where I don't really care what anyone else thinks. Like, if I think this looks good, then I'm wearing it like that. That's the mindset. So I just think it's a little bit of society of where we're at in life. We had that admiration of wanting to be as good as other people are. So it's not about us, it's about what everyone else thinks about us.
What that reminds me of is when at about 17, 18, I wanted to get a tattoo. And I asked my dad's friend, because I noticed my dad and a lot of the men they didn't have tattoos. So I was talking to him, and he says, why do you want to get a tattoo? And in essence, when them man asks you certain questions, we want that fuck. You with me?
Yeah.
You have to answer it.
100%.
But then you got to think, if I answer it in this way, I'm going to sound like an idiot. You with me? Oh, because my friend, you can't say that. Because you're instantly going to get shot down. Because it really makes you think. So what you want to put your skin for? The man said, this is what's running. But I thought, because it was going to be like something, I think it was some kind of psalm or something, symbolically it would be okay. Yeah. And then he asked me, so who do you know that you look up to or that you respect that has this thing? And then he asked, so where do you get this in your mind?
Yeah.
And really, so where you said asking those questions,
100%.
not to dismiss.
No.
Okay, so let's investigate that. I think with teenagers, and then just kind of tempering it in that way, really getting them to think critically about their decisions
100%.
and about their self-worth and that's really what you're challenging, because that sets them up for later life.
100%.
So I agree.
Because our parents never did that with us. It was always, don't do something.
Yeah.
There was never, don't do this because of.
Yeah.
It was just, don't do it. And you're like, but why not? And as I said, I was an inquisitive child growing up. I was that person to test boundaries growing up. So when you say don't, I'm like, but why not? Like, if you've not given me the reason why not, then I'm like, when your back is turned, I'm going to go and do something. Like, I was that little kid. I was. And because I know that about myself, my son's going to have some of those elements about that himself as well. 100%. Apple does never falls too far from the tree, in my opinion. So that's why it's like, but let's have a why? Like, break it down. And if you can justify it to me and explain it to me, and I can go, oh, yeah, I get it, then the likelihood of me saying yes goes up a whole different stratosphere. Yeah. But if I don't understand it, it makes no sense to me, it's not happening. Like, I'm sorry. Like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm your parent for a reason. I'm his dad for a reason. So there'll be sometimes where I'm like, yeah, that don't make no sense.
I think sometimes what you don't want to do as a parent, you don't want to panic as well. So there can be, he's hanging around with bad company. Did it say bad company in there?
Unsavory character.
Unsavory character.
But we all know those children. Our parents said, "Yeah, you see that one there? I'm about to ring around my house." There.
Yeah, don't panic as a parent. Do not panic. It's pretty standard for your son to want to hang around with the cool cats or whatever. It's just about questioning, not questioning in that way that you show all of your anxiety. Why are you doing that? Yeah. Like, have a conversation. Yeah, no, I love the way you frame that. Yeah, when you begin to ask those questions, those probing questions, you begin to really get to the heart of the matter. But yes,
my experience was completely different.
I was about to say, I was going to hit because
no, just listening to you is so funny because my mummy was always just like, why can't you be more like your friends? Shout out to Chantel Piercy, by the way, because I remember do you remember when Carl Can I hats came out?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I was then
roughly. I was kind of young.
Okay, so when Carl Can I hats came out, I bought a purple one. And my mother was absolutely appalled. She was like, "You look like a ragamuffin. Like, why can't you be more like your friends? You know, in their long pleated skirts." But I always went against the grain. So it's just interesting listening to the opposite examples. Okay, so question 2. My son used to be involved in cricket, chess, and art when he was younger. Now he's 13, he has no interests and spends his time in his room online. He doesn't really talk to me and he's quite moody. He also eats in his room. Should I remove all the devices from his bedroom?
Good luck with that. I don't. You know, it's this whole thing about removing everything. If you've put them in there in the first place,
sorry,
how are we now removing them all? Yes, you had that right.
Yeah.
But if you've given them to him, then what's that ultimately teaching him? And I definitely would say, as 13, like, it's proven now scientifically, your brain changes. Pre-teen, post-mod, like, it changes. Your brain's going from your childhood state into your adult state, which means the neurons are reprogramming itself. That's why you sleep longer. That's why it's as answers, because they don't have the vocab to be able to process their minds, the ability to communicate with you that way. So in that, just know that you're going in for a bit of a rough one. Someone said, like, anywhere between 13 and 18, sometimes 19, your child's not your child anymore. Like, they're forming into something else, so therefore you lose them for a while. So to hear that they were doing this cricket and chess and they were well behaved. I remember this the other day. So I was in the supermarket the other day and this lady had 3 kids. One of the kids was screaming at the top of their lungs. She's got him under one arm and this shopping basket. And the eldest one looked at her and went, "Mum, you don't control me. I have my own thoughts." And I was like, yeah, Papa, you do. But you know what? Trust me, you're going to be getting in the car. Your mum's going to be taking you home. She's going to be feeding you later on as well. Like, don't worry. I get it. because you, in essence, you then start to realize that they're telling you to do things, and you're like, oh, I don't need to do what you're telling me to do. I have my own thought process. And in that means I can say no to you. Your consequences of saying no to your parents. Like, I wouldn't advise it, but you can, so to speak. So again, I think she's coming to that next stage where now that little person's getting a bit more realization of themselves. And I definitely would say, you know what? It's something to go through. And again, the whole thing of eating, I get it, but there has to be one day a week or one time during the week where, as a family, you get together.
I said that recently.
Isn't it?
I said recently. Everybody's talking about, what can we do? What can we do to solve the ills of our young people? I said, just eat at the dinner table.
Yeah, 100%.
Studies have shown.
Yeah.
Especially for boys and their communication. If you get them to eat at the dinner table and have a conversation, often as painful as it is, it makes massive difference.
100%. It's like that question you ask when they come home from, how was school today? What did you do? Work. Fine. Okay, cool. But if you ask a question, who did you sit next to at lunchtime? Who said, do you know when the teacher asked that question, who said the funniest thing back?
Yeah.
Just some weird, obscure question that makes your child go, I don't know. And you see when you get that point where they're having to go back inside their own thought process, you can take them anywhere after that. You can ask any question after that because that's when they're really switching on and engaging in thought and process.
So no, that's a good. So really, it's about the parent engaging with the child. That the child's rather than punitive punishment.
100%.
Take away this, take away that. And something else that also is have you checked on that child's mental health and well-being? Because everything, do you just read that again for me?
Yeah, 100%. That's a good
everything
point.
that I'm hearing, say it again if you don't mind.
So my son used to be involved in cricket, chess and art when he was younger. Now he's 13. He has no interests and spends his time in his room online. He doesn't really talk to me and he's quite moody and he eats in his room. Should I remove all devices from his bedroom?
Yeah, no, there's an issue there, man. There's a mental health, and you've got to be very. Obviously, we could all go down the moody teenager, blah blah blah. True. Yes, as you said, it happens like in regards to scientifically and hormones and things like that. But those would be alarm bells if you've gone from a kid who is outside, who just doesn't find pleasure in those things anymore. You really need to take a step back and think about the mental health and well-being of that young person. Damn concerning. This was my child, my son. I don't know. Did it say son? I don't know why I assume it's
it was a boy.
Yeah, if this is my boy and he was outside, one of those boys who are really active, year 6 primary school.
But again, that's that lockdown time as well, because again, that was a big thing when my son didn't have his outside activities. Then the misbehavior levels went up hugely. The answering back that was just like, whoa, and then we realized it's like, because you're not having your outwardly areas to burn it all off and run around and be stupid with your friends. You don't have that, so therefore you need it somewhere in your life. So therefore you're displaying that bit more to us now. Yeah. So that again, so that's maybe what it is as well. It sounds like that sort of like time when maybe after lockdown, he hasn't re-engaged with the activities. He decided just to continue doing the game. So yeah, definitely mental health-wise as well. Kids have to be outside doing outside things.
Specifically boys. I think it was Scott Galloway the other day I heard who find this uncomfortable, compared boys to dogs and said like
100%.
A tired boy is a happy boy. Like you need to get them knackered.
100%.
Yeah. So no, I agree. But please look into his mental health and well-being, because it's funny because initially I was like, yes, take it all away. But when I thought about it after your answer, that's definitely not the route to go down. Yeah.
But there is a case to say, I'm going to play Angel's advocate. There is a case to say that the devices should be taken away from the bedroom because it's just compounding whatever the issues are.
But as Stuart said, what are they doing in there in the first place? It's kind of the thing done gone by the. You can't go down that route because you've already. That's now punitive.
I disagree. Well, no, because if let's say your teenager says, "Oh, Dad, can I borrow your car?" and they crash the car, next time they ask you, you're going to say, "Well, no," because you remember what happened last time. You abused it, or you caused damage to my vehicle. It's the same principle, isn't it? I've allowed you to have these devices in your room, but it's now gotten to the stage where perhaps you're just so overwhelmed by it, you can't even control it. So now, as the parent, I'm going to remove it until such time that you can.
I don't think it's fair for you to put that. So I'm remembering when my son had his he had a PlayStation 4.
Oh, okay.
And he knew it was in his room, but the controllers were in my room.
Mm-hmm.
And he would ask, and there would be a conversation about when he could. Giving him unfettered access to the computer, that's madness. Like, that's a boy. Like, no disrespect. Like, I love my son. He knows, yeah. I've taught boys. Why pick them? They don't have no. They don't.
Yeah.
It's like me and sweets. Do you know what I mean? They don't have no regulation. Like,
it's an endless tap that keeps running.
Yeah, and it would be unfair for me to have that expectation. So I wouldn't even put them in that position in the first place. And I think as a parent, you've got to think: should I expose my child to this? And is it fair and is it responsible as a parent for me to expose them? And then once I've exposed them to this world, now I'm gonna pull it back after you've become addicted.
But that's also what it is, isn't it? It's that level of addiction, and we all know as well the level of addiction of the dopamine levels that get sparked and those things. So it's known now. So, but again, I take your point because he has given them to him already. So therefore, it needs to be a different conversation rather than just going and taking it away.
Yeah,
it needs to be a conversation based around what's happening. Why do you feel like you're now? Is it because of the devices? Let's have a device break for a while. Can we go out and do some things else? Like those are the conversations that need to be brokered there, rather than I just think it's gone too far now. I'm just taking it away. Yeah, like it needs to engage. And I keep on saying like, life is different because there would be no engagement or conversation before with our parents. It'd just be, this is what I think needs to be done. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But again, now we live in a world where we have to engage in that level of conversation where the reasons why I'm doing this is because. And if you can give someone the kids, especially young kids, if you can give them the why, more than likely they're happy to go along with it. If you've just doing something to them, they're like, "Oh, what do you mean?" Like, and that's when again the confrontation, "I hate you," and all that stuff comes in because you've not justified the reason. So I just feel like there needs to be a conversation had. Yeah. Like, what's going on for you? Why do you feel like you're like this? Is there something I can do to help? Those sort of questions need to be asked rather than just, give me that.
The West African way. Okay, so this is an interesting one. It's from a dad. He says that he has a 15-year-old daughter who is getting out of control. She comes to mind every other weekend, but when she's with her mum, she has no boundaries. She lets her wear tight clothes, stay out late, get lashes and all kinds of stuff, but she knows better than that when she's with me. The mum is hard ears and thinks her behaviour is okay. Stuart, stop. But
there's some.
I just want to show
there's a relationship trauma there going on. She's hard ears.
Yeah, it's getting a bit.
The amount of times I told her.
Oh my word. So she's hard ears and she thinks that her behaviour is okay. We're not laughing at your dilemma, by the way. No, but it's not. As I just found out that she's been excluded 3 times and doesn't always go into school.
What?
Yeah. Critical time, man. 15.
First things first. Oy. Make sure you've got PR. Yeah. Make sure, firstly, so if you and the mum weren't married, when PR stands for parental responsibility, you have an equal say in regards. So you shouldn't only now be finding out, that the child is excluded 3 times because if you had PR, it would be the school's duty to inform you as well as the mum if you have parental responsibility, because that encapsulates education as well. You need to sit down with mum and daughter and make it very, very clear and make sure you're in a position to do so. You need to take your daughter. You need to take your daughter and you need to make sure for the next few years you have a very clear trajectory of what your aim is with your daughter and where you need to take her, what needs to happen. Because very often we see these scenarios play out and um, very choice of how I use my words. You hear kind of the dads complain. You hear the dads complaining, oh, blah, blah, kind of similar to what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll hear kind of the mum's version, he ain't doing nothing, so on and so forth. To avoid all of that, what I've found very best when I've advised men in the past, you have to have a very, very almost business plan where there is very little compromise in regards to what's going to happen. Financially, I can support what's going to happen. You need to make sure you've got your own housing situation set up where you can take your child and you make it very clear that that's what's going to happen. I don't think any unreasonable woman, when you come to them with a very clear plan about their children, what's best for their child, will be able to say, listen, okay, I think you need to take your child for a specific period of time. That's what I've seen.
That's if the mum sees what she's doing.
Yeah.
Because again, if mum doesn't see it as
exclusion.
No, well, again, depending on what you excluded for. Was it a hair problem? Was it talking about to the teachers? Was it like lateness? What is it for? We don't know the context behind there. And again, I always say to people, every story has two versions and the truth. We've heard one version from one person. Like, can we hear the other version from the other person? And then, what does a young person think as well? Like, to have that stereotypical thing of when she's around me, she behaves herself. Well, what are you doing that mum's not doing then? While she behaves herself, and what do you consider or say is behaving yourself? Not wearing the short stuff around you, but then when she leaves your house, as soon as she's on the bus, she's changing into whatever she wants to wear anyway. So how do you know, sort of thing?
That's a very good point.
It's so hard. And again, like I say to people all the time, I've taught girls for nearly 20 years, and it's their minds work in so much a different way than males' minds work, and you have to get in and behind the reasons why she's doing and behaving the way she does. Like they can't. Is it a case that she's playing the one off with each other as well? Because she knows that if she behaves like that in front of dad and behaves like says to her dad that she's behaving like that in front of her, then it's going to cause that reaction because there is no communication between the two adults in this room. Because otherwise, you would know that she got excluded 3 times before. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So that for me is really clear. And kids are good at doing that. Kids are really good at playing one off and the other one off each other and know what to say to one and not saying to the other. Like, they're so good at that. So that'd be my first thing to say. Like, you need to sit down with the mums, first of all. If you can, have a conversation about what's going on. Like, why do I feel like this? Why am I only hearing these things now? What else? What is going on with you? You know what I'm saying? It could be, again, new partner comes on scene. Like, there's so many little finite things of the reasons why someone's going to start behaving a certain way and start doing other things and acting like this in front of one and not acting like that in front of another one as well. I think that's so clear as well.
I do think as a man, it is important that you're in a position where if you need to take your children, because again, a lot of times, I'm not allowed to see my kids and this, that, and the other. But if the mum turned around tomorrow and said, "Okay, you know what?
Here you go.
Here you go."
Yeah.
Would you be up to? I'll do every other weekend. Are you in a position to do that? Could you do it? And unfortunately, I don't believe there are enough men who kind of talk a good game. I don't think they could.
Yeah.
I don't think they could. So before you're gonna kind of go in there with the gusto, make sure you're in a position to be. If it does come down to it, you can turn around and say, "All right, you know what?
Yeah.
Until the end of her A levels, and she goes off to university. So that's the next 3 years she's gonna stay with me."
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you don't really have a leg to stand on.
It's a crucial time, though, 15.
Yeah.
Like,
it is.
GCSEs and that sort of stuff, and getting that done, and not trying not to fall over that hurdle, and then like make life a lot more complicated. I definitely would say, as I said, conversation with the mum first. Like let's get together, let's have a chat. Let's see where we can compromise and meet as minds together for the ultimate goal of our daughter. Like that should be whatever's happened between us has happened between us. Whatever baggage we've got. But again, we don't need that to affect the way that we parent our child. Though that shouldn't come into it. Personal stuff.
Yeah. Interesting.
That was the last. That was the last one. There was one scenario that came up in the parents group. I think I posted it on my story the other day. It was really distressing. I just wanted to share it with you. It was about a primary school kid, and this is who and had no issues before. And I really want to give a massive shout out to the mum and how she dealt with it. A primary school child who had an interaction with another primary school child, and I believe the child had something wrong with their ear. This child had hit the other child on their ear. And subsequently, that child had gone to the hospital, had to have an operation. Now, to me, those are kind of primary things that happen at primary school. The parents of the child who was on the ear then had decided that they wanted to prosecute. Year 5 child wanted to go to the police, and so forth. And the mum contacted us just to kind of find out what can be done. We spoke to a teacher from the other school, who was she was just so apologetic, and she just couldn't believe that it had been taken this far. It's really, really important that communication with you and your child is at the forefront, because if this parent hadn't communicated effectively with the child, and lies and secrets, kids when they think they're going to get in trouble start telling lies.
100%.
Yeah. But these are the kind of crazy things that come up all of the time that we have to kind of support with. So if you do have any challenges or you do have any issues, please don't hesitate to DM us. When you DM us on Instagram, usually Rena who's going to answer. If you ever email us at the sltpodcast@gmail.com, make sure we have that. It'll probably be me who answers. Make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe. It has been a real honor.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's been a real honor having you on. We've got to try and get you on again.
I'd love to.
It feels like, I don't know, it feels like a really, really good fit.
Good fit. Yeah,
it feels like you've been on here before.
100%. No,
like really, really smooth. So we'd definitely love to have you back on again.
Love to come again.
Absolutely.
It's been a real pleasure. And as we say all the time, please remember, don't just like, when you see us, we love the SLT podcast. Subscribe, because I'm gonna start calling people out.
No, 100%. I think you should.
I'm gonna go on my phone. Do you subscribe?
I think I've subscribed yet. I'm gonna make sure by the end of today I'm gonna get that done.
No, by the time you leave this room, you're gonna subscribe.
100%.
You're gonna.
100%.
Make sure you are subscribing, 100%. Please, and we look forward to seeing you on the next SLT podcast.
Thank you. Bye bye.